So day 3 on this Mini. My mate Dan started blocking these panels down and he's got some of the insides sorted out. And got the roof painted, inside's painted too. I'm not really happy with this roof. I'm gonna actually flow coat it. It had like all these little bits of silicone all through it this morning. It looked good when I walked out last night, but being that it's 2K black, it's just gonna take ages to polish that up to get it to look good. So I'm just gonna leave it over the weekend. I'll paint the body today and leave the entire thing over the weekend. Quick sand down, just with the orbital again, and a couple of coats of clear, sort that out. A little bit annoying, but these things happen. Still making great time on this car. So I think I'll mainly focus on the body. Dan's gone out to do some work at the airport today, so still a few hours of prep work just on the body. If I run out of time to paint the panels today, I'll just do them tomorrow morning. It's no big deal. So I'm just using 180 grit to block this down with now. There is a few spots that aren't perfect, but now I've got that 2-pack primer on there. I've got something that I know how that's going to react with the fillers and fine fillers. So it's not going to be a big deal to just go and put a bit of fine filler in there, put a little bit of 1K primer over it, scuff that back, and that's right to paint over. Now I did edit a lot of this footage down. I didn't include the entire prep stage because you would have been sitting there for hours watching me. But what I did do, I recorded a session that went for a full 30 minutes and I ended up uploading that onto my other channel. So if you guys would like to see unedited raw footage, exactly how I prepped this car up for a 30-second period, you'll be able to go and check that out on my other channel, the Gunman Raw, which is starting to get pretty popular. Lots of people do like it. So with this bit of filler here, I decided to hit it with some 120 first, and then I went over that with the 180, and then got rid of all the 180 and 80 scratches with some 320 on the orbital sander. And then that's right to prime over, and you shouldn't get any shrink back if you've finished that off with 320 grit. As it turned out, it was none of this that was the issue. It really was what was underneath that did cause the shrink back that we did get on this car. It shrinked back really badly. A good comparison is, you may have noticed there's that Mark 1 Cortina in the workshop before, and that thing's got basically no shrink back in it at all, but it was mainly 2-pack. There was 2 sections that had acrylic paint on it, and for some reason they didn't shrink back, whereas this entire car, there's shrink back spots just about everywhere that we've cut through. But it's one of those things, we're working between people's budgets, and if they want to spend big dollars and basically an open checkbook, because we're not to know what we're going to find under there. We're not working for free, obviously, so we're just doing a quick tidy up for him. The end result is something that he's very happy with. Yes, it's not perfect, but it looks okay. So I've got it all blocked down, put some fine filler in lots of spots. There's still 1 or 2 little spots I've found that I'll have to pick up here and there. Bit of fine filler, it seems to be never ending sometimes. Just a few low spots like dents and stuff like that here. Put a bit of 1K primer over the top of it. A couple of other spots. There was a decent sized one here, but now I've got the 2-pack sealed down the entire panel. It feels like I actually can do these repairs, because before with that old acrylic, you just rip into that acrylic really heavily, and by the time you feather that, the scratches that you've taken out, you've put another low spot into it. So I found in these circumstances sometimes just getting it the best you can and then getting some 2-pack primer on it and do a bit more after is the best way to do it. Any small spots like this, I'll just paint over. A couple of little bits of stuff like that, I'll probably just paint over that. There's no real need to put primer on it, all these, because it's a good fine filler I'm using. I'll give you a look at it. It's the U-Pole Expert. I used to use the Worth extra fine polyester filler, and this is very similar. It's just that just gets annoying having all these different accounts, so we asked the guy that we get our stuff through what he's got that works, and that seemed to be a good one. So making good progress on it, and my next step is just grabbing the 320 softback sanding sponges, going over all these edges, and then I'll be going over the surfaces with 600, 5 or 600, I'm not sure yet, I'll decide later, and then go back over all those edges with 400, because 320 is probably a little bit coarse to want to paint over, especially with the Nason, because it is quite thin. But looking forward to getting some colour on this. Should look pretty nice when it's done. Just going over all those edges with the 320 grit softback sanding sponge. I don't know how we used to get by without these things. I started this trade in the year 2000, and 3M did have a different version of these sanding sponges, but they were terrible. They were just like a piece of foam, and they didn't knock out the orange peel at all. So I got all those edges sanded down, 320 grit. Next up, I just decided I'll be using 500 grit on the orbital sander, and then go back over those edges with the 400. Got my dust extraction on. Beautiful day out there. Pre-workout powder, killing it. It seems though every 10 minutes someone has to come in and slow me down. The beauties of owning a business. You come to work for 10 hours, you only get 8 hours work done. So at no point did I use any water when I was prepping this car. Some people like to do wet sanding still. I believe it's not really necessary. As long as you're clean about the way you do it and you blow it off in between each stage, make sure you haven't missed any sanding scratches. I do believe there's a lot of advantages to doing the dry sanding. If you go and do wet sanding, you can see this workshop, it's nice and, well, it's not clean, but there's no water on the floor. If I was to go and do wet sanding, there'd be puddles of water all over the floor, which could also turn into a bit of a health and safety risk if you've got electrical leads on the ground. Probably pretty uncommon, but I guess it's still there. And also just your hands and stuff like that. It's, yeah, like your hands turn into prunes when you're wet sanding. It also takes a lot longer to clean the car down once you have finished sanding, because you've got bits of water all through the nooks and crannies of the car, and it takes ages to dry it off and blow it off. But yeah, that's just my opinion on the wet versus dry sanding. I think wet sanding was more advantageous with the acrylic paint. So when I did actually sand this down prior to doing our repairs, the acrylic paint just clogs up your dry sanding paper straight away. So maybe if you're doing acrylic paint work, go for your wet sanding, 2-pack, do it dry. Yeah, I've got loads more tips and tricks if you guys want to know how to do blends and all that stuff, but they're in other videos, so check them out. Now we're up to the masking. Again, I didn't include the entire masking stage because it would have taken probably, I don't know, 45 minutes. Us two would have got this done, maybe half an hour. It is a fairly small car, so it's not like it's a massive job. But yeah, this is double speed, and I'm using the 3M tape at the moment. That's something that is a little bit more expensive than some of the other brands, but it's really a bit of a false economy when you go and try and save $20 on a box of masking tape, and then you start painting and it starts falling off on you when you're painting, and then you're getting overspray and you're spending all this time cleaning overspray off. The jobs are probably going out with bits of overspray on them anyway. So yep, the way I look at products, and this is me being the boss as well, like I'm paying for all these products. I'm happy to pay for a better quality product and have it do a better job rather than try and save a couple of dollars. There are certain things that, yep, I'll try and save a couple of bucks on depending on the job. Like this job here, we are using Nason paint, and it is budget paint. It's not the best, but it's okay. Yeah, for a budget job like this, I think the job was maybe $5.5 grand, which for the amount of work we've done on it is pretty reasonable, you know. Well, in Australia it is. Some people from over the world might say, wow, that's heaps, but you guys obviously don't know how much we have to pay in rent, and Australia is a very expensive country to live in and everything like that, even just power and, yeah, consumables. And also our paint products are really expensive over here in Perth. You can basically put an extra 20% on the rest of Australia here in Perth, and that's just about everything. Okay, so ready to start getting some paint on. It's all masked up, wax and grease removed, seam sealed. We put some seam sealer up in here. I've given it a good tack rag down with some high pressure there. Colours mixed up in the gun, strained in there with a filter. I've decided the way I'm going to go around it. I've figured that out. As they say, keep it simple, stupid. I used to, when I was doing a respray, I'd be jumping all over the place to make sure I didn't have a spot that I left. My wet edge was sort of moving with me. But these days I've found it so much easier. You don't get lost in the job, and all I do on this one, for instance, this is where I'm going to start, on this door jamb here, paint around here, and then just work my way around the entire car, come back to this spot here. All I'm going to have is one little edge here. If it needs it, if it doesn't melt in nicely, just get a bit of thinners, put it in the gun, puff it over that edge there, job done. That'll melt it in. So let's get into it. So you're going to be using the trusty old SGK. I've actually since sold this spray gun, unfortunately, because I am moving to Thailand. It just got to the point where, you know what, I got way too many guns and I had to get rid of them just to lighten the baggage load. It also just leaves room for me to get new guns because I'm constantly getting requests for specific guns that people want to be reviewed. Now, if it was not for this YouTube channel, I would just be going on with my Devilbus GDI Pro and Pro Light and maybe the SGK as well, and I probably wouldn't bother getting all these new guns because look, 99% of the time I just get a new gun for the sake of reviewing it so I can show you guys what it's like, and I don't see it as really a waste of money. If you guys can get a bit of good info out of that review, then I'm happy to do that because I do take this channel pretty seriously and I do get a lot back from it too. It has definitely opened up a whole new world of spray painting. I've got to meet loads of cool people, and it's also broadened my mind on spray guns as well. I used to just be Devilbus or nothing, but there actually are loads of other good spray guns on the market. Anyway, enough of me ranting. I'm going to tell you the gun settings that I'm using on this SGK. Full fan, full fluid, 20 PSI. Simple as that. That thing will hum along all day, every day with those settings. 20 PSI, full fan, full fluid. You might want to adjust that pressure depending on what you're painting or how it's going on. You might want to go up or down a little bit, but yeah, around those settings you'll get some really good results quite easily. The gun is reasonably priced. I got this one for $200. I've also seen them on eBay Australia for under that, like $180. But then after I started using this gun in just about every video for just about 6 months, I then looked back on eBay and they put their price up by about $40 to $50 per gun. But even at $240, they're still a good spray gun, and I would recommend getting one if you're in the market for a spray gun that you'll be able to use at home with a mid-size compressor. Now it does say HVLP on the side. It says HVLP Transtech on the box. Now they can brand it how they like. I do not class this gun as a HVLP gun. HVLP guns have big holes that the air comes out on the side. This gun to me is a conventional gun, and it gets it on nice and flat without heaps of orange peel like you will get with your HVLP guns. Made in Brazil, good quality, well made, got the Devilbus name on it, so it's not like a Taiwanese or Chinese El Cheapo. So yeah, I do highly recommend them. But hey, the next gun I've got, and that's going to be starting to feature in more of my videos, is the Devilbus GPI, which is basically looks like Devilbus's answer to this gun. So Devilbus UK, they want to sell guns made in the UK, obviously. Now this gun is made in Brazil by another company that they used to own or something like that, and they've turned around and said, you know what, we may as well be getting that market from our own UK built spray gun rather than the Brazilian made SGK. And hey, I believe that in the right hands you can get a good finish with just about any spray gun. But yeah, I still like to review them. I've just started to absolutely love spray guns now. I used to just be, as I said before, just a Velvis all the way, but I just love getting a new gun and seeing how it sprays, and they obviously do all have their differences. Some are better than others, but this gun here, it ticks all the boxes for me. The Velvis also, personally, I think, all things considered, do make the best guns in the world. If you consider everything, so price, quality, absolutely everything, the way they perform, I do believe, all in all, the Velvis do make the best guns. That's just my opinion. The next guy might hate them, and I've met loads of people that don't like them. They say, nah, they're crap, I'm an Iwater man, or I'm a SATA man, but I do definitely appreciate some of the Iwaters and some of the SATAs, but that's just, I'm a Velvis man. I was told by a follower of mine that sometimes you may feel like you're just sitting there ranting, which I am doing. I do feel like I'm doing that a bit. I'm just sitting behind my computer at home, and I'm talking to myself while I'm watching myself spray paint. Now, let me know your guys' thoughts on that. I'm happy to narrate. It's not always going to be perfect, some of the stuff I say. I don't know everything, but yeah, would you rather that, or would you rather some tunes? So, it went on okay. I wasn't going for any records or anything. It's not going to be a show car. Let's get a nice, get it covered. It's still see-through a little bit where those patches of primer are, so I'm actually starting to think maybe a third coat might even help on this one. You really see it here. Dark patch where that darker Nason primer was. So yeah, I will put 3 coats on it for what it's worth. Give a bit of something more to buff into as well over the years. I guess if it lasts them for a while, then reds do fade, especially solid colour reds. You can run the buff over it without worrying about cutting through either. You may be wondering why I've got it positioned where I've got it positioned in the booth. The main reason for that is that the inlet is directly above where this car is, and I have found that I just get lots cleaner work from underneath that inlet. So if I have anything painting down near the exhaust fan end, I end up just getting loads of crap all through it. But this end, it's just the clean end of my booth. What else are we going to talk about? Nason. The Nason paint I'm using. It is cheap and nasty. It is sold in Australia as industrial paint. I make the joke to my mate Dan. I say, well, this is an industry. This is the automotive industry. But jokes aside, the guys that sell it to us tell me that it's sold in the US as automotive paint. It is like $30 a litre. And you're talking, if we went to go and put Standox 2K red over this, you'd be talking like over $100 a litre, hardener on top. So, you know, for some of these budget jobs, we're forced to put cheap paint on it. We can't go and put $2,000 worth of paint on it when we're only making $5.5 grand. You take, you know, this workshop costs us, say, around $100 per day. That's just to run and keep the doors open on this place. So, you know, by the time you take everything else out, it doesn't leave that much behind for us, you know. But that's all good, but like, it's not like I'm struggling or anything. I guess for me, I'm used to working for like extremely good money, whereas now I just seem to be working a little bit harder and maybe not quite as good money. Like, I could stay at this place and make a really successful business out of it. We're flat out, like, we're telling people, we're turning them back. We've got that much work, and it's not that we're not doing good work, it's not that we're not making any money. It's, for me, even if I was to stay in Australia, I would still be leaving. Look, you know, you look at this spray booth, it's not the best booth, you know, it's an old concrete floor. You've got to, you know, sweep it out every time you use it and put the water down, and you're still struggling to get like what I class as a really good finish, you know. In some of those wet floor booths with the grates, with the water that circulates that I worked back in Melbourne, I mean, I would barely even get a bit of dust. Like, if I got more than 2 bits of dust in a panel, it was a rare occasion. That was back when I was using Glazeret. So yeah, as I say, even if I was staying in Australia, I would still be leaving this workshop. And hey, it's not because I am a failure in business. So yeah, I don't feel that I really need to justify any of that to you guys. I'm the boss at the end of the day. I'm the boss of my own life as well. I've also wanted to live in Thailand for ages, and I've got a bit of a funny story. Apprentice of mine, like when I started making these videos, people used to mock me. They'd laugh at you. They'd be like, I'm making YouTube videos and that. And yeah, I said to an apprentice not long after starting to make these videos, I said, mate, in 10 years I'll be retired in Thailand. And he goes, what, with the Gunman? And I said, yep, why not? So, as it turns out, I'm 9 years ahead of schedule, mate. Well, I'm not necessarily going to be technically retired, but I'm going to be taking a step back and not doing as much work and enjoying work a little bit more. He'll still be slaving his ass off. He might have just turned tradesman. I get the last laugh. That's all I have to say about that one. And there was another time I was sitting in the smoko room. I said to another apprentice, I said, oh, what was on for the weekend, mate? And he said, making YouTube videos. And everyone in that smoko room started laughing. It's like a big joke to him. And I'm like, you know what? I was sitting there to myself. I didn't take any offense to it at all, because I was at the point in my life where I don't really care. And to start something like this, you've got to be like that to a point. Like, you can't care too much about what other people think about what you're doing. But I just thought to myself, I will get the last laugh. And now sitting here with 20,000 YouTube subscribers, 3.6 million views, I feel as if I'm already getting the last laugh, you know? That's not me gloating, that's not me having a ha-ha, told you so type moment. That's just me knowing that there was something that was going to be successful, and I've got a passion for this, and in a way, those people actually helped me make this more of a success, just to prove them wrong. And not that I even speak to any of those guys anymore anyway. I don't even care about them or their opinions. I met this guy down the lunch bar, and he noticed me. He's like, oh, Gunny, how's it going? This is the guy that lent me that Segola, and I did a review and demo on that. And he came in, and I just had a bit of a chat to him one day, and I said about how people are a little bit funny, especially in the trade. Like, people that I meet, they're like, seem to have a bit of a laugh at you that you've got your GoPro on your head, or that you're filming yourself doing your work. And he was surprised in a way, and I'm like, man, it's real. Like, they mock you and laugh at you behind your back, but it's like something that I really don't care about. And if I dwelled on that kind of stuff, then I wouldn't be sitting where I am today. And look, the future for me is going to be amazing. I can tell. Like, Thailand's just going to be the beginning. I'd love to go to the UK. I've met people from all over the world. I'd love to go all over Europe. I'd love to go to America, Canada, South America. And I'm sorry if I missed your country, but I want to go there too. And I want to paint some shit. I want to paint some shit with you too! Sorry, I got a little bit excited there. Anyway, back on with the job. That's our second coat down, and I'm about to go straight on with that third coat. Something that's not usually necessary. Had I chosen to use a Glazerette or a Standox, well then 2 coats, absolutely, you would have got your coverage. Although there was one time I used a beer on my own car. It was a Tirana, and I had it all painted. I didn't really quite see inside the door jambs that it wasn't covered, and that was 2 wet coats, which with, say, Glazerette or Standox, I would just about guarantee that 2 coats would be 100% covered, and it would be a nice film thickness, because they've got the HS and VOC 2K solid top coat colours, and yeah, they're far superior to some of these. They're probably going to last a hell of a lot longer, but hey, the car really didn't justify anything more than what it got. You know, if it got a bare metal sort of restoration style job on it, then yes, I would have used even clear over base and used a good quality product, but the customer would have paid for it, and yeah, if he didn't, he would have got an ace on it as well. It's as simple as that. Well, I've had enough of talking to you guys. I'm going to put some music on just for 2 or 3 minutes, and I will take you through the last step of the job, and then make sure you get out there and paint some shit. So that's it, 3 coats, come up real nice. I'm real happy with it. There's 1 or 2 spots that are gonna need a bit of a polish, but nothing major. I'm glad I did put that last 3rd coat on. That Nason, that's pretty good paint for the price. You get it for about 30 bucks a litre. On these budget jobs, perfect stuff. Yeah, like we've got a couple of little bit, you know, bits of dust here and there, but all in all, it's fairly clean. I wouldn't say it's full of dust. You know, there's a couple of bits here, but for a 3-day respray, very good. And this thing was peppered with dents. It's just a quick tidy up at the end of the day. Something that you can be sort of proud to drive around. He's definitely got that. The colour's growing on me. I don't think I liked it at the start, but I think it sort of suits the car, suits the era. I think back in these days they didn't have the technology in the paint like we do now. I think they were all lead-based paint, so they're all sort of dirty, and they had to clean them up, they had to put white in it, so it's basically black, white, and the red. And that's why it's very sort of pastel-y red, whereas you see some of the ones from these days, you get real bright reds. But suits the car, as I say. Look forward to get the panels all done. SJK goes hard. Perfect for this kind of stuff. Turned out, I'm not even going to bother about blowing any thinners in there. For starters, it's a door jam and I can barely even see any dry spray in there anyway. That's it for this video, y'all. Hope you enjoyed watching this one. There's going to be a part 3 on this Mini Cooper, so make sure you hang around, stay tuned. That's going to be one of my next uploads. Now you've seen this video, get out there and paint some shit. Thanks for watching, and this has been another Gunman production. Goodbye.